Hello and good evening from Germany. This is Jonathan Quill Higgins III, streaming live here on a beautiful Friday evening. Hope that everybody is doing well. Everybody is enjoying the day before the weekend, and probably our content will provide you with some relaxation. I see that we have already a lot of visitors here in the house. I'm hearing that Watch Nicholas is streaming at the same time. So I don't consider this being rebel streaming. I had a good time with Nick, and I hope that he's happy and satisfied. We have 14 viewers here, and maybe we're getting a little bit more. Otherwise, you can still watch it on the replay. Now we have a couple of things prepared for tonight. The first thing that I wanted to present you is a new watch that has been introduced earlier this week. This is the brand new HMO tourbillon with a cylindrical hairspring, now in a different color code. It is a reminiscence of the Hans Trillsdorf. What is that?
No, you gotta say the name right, Higgy baby.
Hans Trillsdorf. Okay.
I heard this.
I got it. Oh no, I got it. Okay.
I heard this is a Rolex show. I was very excited.
Yeah, but I'm shifting a little bit away. I'm getting caught in escapements and all kind of thingies, just like Dodger would say. So
Sounds good.
I just wanted to show the new tourbillon H Moser automatic with a cylindrical hairspring. People who know me a little bit know that I can geek out with those tiny details. Here you can see the cylindrical hairspring in that tourbillon. The other H Moser that we just showed a couple of days ago, that was the streamliner that has two hairsprings, but conventional hairsprings. Here you can see the cylindrical hairspring. The image is not good because of that. I prepared some better shots for you just to explain you how a cylindrical hairspring works.
I was hoping you would. I was like, hopefully he's not going to use this pretty poor photo.
Yeah. But I couldn't find an H. Moser cylindrical hairspring.
Okay.
To my defense. So,
Go for it.
So what is a cylindrical hairspring? Just like the name says, it is not like a conventional hairspring, which is round like a snail. So all the layers of the hairspring have one diameter, and that results in an even expansion and contraction against a traditional hairspring that is a little bit asymmetrical. And we all know asymmetry or being off-centered means less precision. Now, where does this all come from? Of course, from chronometry, from building chronometers, marine chronometer, which is one thing that I really like because I'm a big fan of John Harrison. I wanted to say George Harrison for a second. So here you can see the cylindrical hairspring in a marine chronometer. It's definitely cylindrical. What I found interesting here is also you can see the fusee chain. So the chain wound around the mainspring barrel.
Yeah, that's exactly where my eye went first, and then I went to the mainspring after that. So the hairspring after that. Yeah, I was just like, you know what, I'll look at the fusee and chain, then I'll look at the hairspring because that's
Yeah.
obviously big fan of it in your watch and in the other ones that have fusee and chain.
Yeah. So let's see who is in the comments, or should we ignore them and just go ahead?
No. Address the fans. Go for it.
So Logan Hall is happy that actually in my title I had a kind of Rolex. The problem is that if I'm mispronouncing Rolex, the clicks are getting less. So I had to.
Well, this one is Higgins. You got to do this. This is Rolex. Try a Rolex for Logan Hall.
Whoa, get the fucking... Okay, no, we're not going to do that. Apes is in the house. Patel Philip with his usual nasty comments. Russ is here. Evening watch fans. Russ, we are planning to have a full tilt drama show tonight, so maybe you move on.
Hey Russ, how's it going?
So J. Gray Sweater, aka Laura Connor, he says, "I'm gonna blame the cat." Dodger is in the house. Dodger, 5 minutes before the show started, he sent me a furious message about what happened today. Dodger, am I allowed to talk about it on the stream, or should that between us? Scratchy is here, wishing us a good show. Whole milk, like always here. Whole milk gives a lot of valuable input. For example, that unicorn Rolex that he talked about on the last stream. I
Yep.
heard about it, but his comments resulted in me researching this. And
Oh, I'm
it's
surprised you didn't know that. The Perescope
no,
article
no,
and everything. Wow. It's a
no,
really,
no.
really interesting story. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe we're going to cover this story another time
Sure.
because I think we have a pretty packed show at the moment.
All right.
So what about Michael Schumacher's watch collection being sold off for 5 million? Where's that being sold? I would like to know that.
Yeah, it was on. It
JB
was.
is
Yeah, it was on the news, but yeah, I
okay.
haven't looked into it either.
Yeah, JB is in the house. Whole milk. Yeah, I'm more Lennon than Harrison. Okay, and JB says hello to
Hey JB,
us.
what's up?
Crappy Luxury is having a brezel here. It's not pretzel, by the way. It's brezel. Don't talk about it. Okay. I'm silent. And Goldfinger 0808 is here and saying hello to everyone. So shout out. Should we do a shout out to Bear Clooney watches or not?
Of course. Rolex show you got to.
People people demanding now shout outs on other shows. So okay, shout out to Bear Clooney watches because why is that? Tell us.
Shout out to Bear Clooney watches. Oh yes. You know, for the well, I don't know, two things, but I'll say the one thing that he wanted the shout out for was getting the answer right on why the high end brands or the high horology brands use a lateral clutch in their chronograph movements. Bear Clooney got it correct in terms of the aesthetics, the
For
looks, the
once.
beauty. No, I don't say for once, but Bear is getting credit officially from. I shouldn't be the one saying it. You should be the one giving him credit. He doesn't want credit from me. He wants it from you.
No. You're telling the story. He's getting credit for from me for being spot on. So the question yesterday on Archie Show was lateral clutch or vertical clutch. What is better and why? Was that the question or?
The question was why. So Archie was talking about how his one of his watches has a vertical clutch and how much better it is. And then I asked a trivia question: why do high-end brands like Patek Philippe, and others use a lateral clutch in their chronograph movements as opposed to a vertical clutch? If from a technical perspective, it's superior. Why would they use a lateral clutch? So that was the trivia question, and both Archie and Bear answered the question. Archie said because it's traditional, and Bear said it's because it's aesthetically pleasing to the eye. It makes the movement it's more beautiful in the movement to use a lateral clutch. So those were the two answers. And Bear, obviously I gave the answer, and Bear then said Higgins needs to give me credit. So we'll see what Higgins says.
Yeah, so I'm giving him credit for this time. I'm not giving him credit because I have the feeling he didn't know that Cartier rewind is going backwards. I think he has been tipped off during the show. I think he was as clueless as Archie and also Doc BBW. I was laughing my ass off when they were saying, "Oh, such a beautiful red dial. Oh, it's in platinum. Oh, why is it limited 200 pieces? Oh, 38,000. That is a money grab." So I had the feeling that Bear was clueless. If he wasn't, please reach out to us and I will apologize. But I got the sense that he didn't know it as well. I think he received a message, probably by you, and
No, no,
he
no, no,
got
no.
tipped off.
I didn't even when you mentioned that to me. I don't even remember that segment because Archie
Hmm.
probably said the price and then said it was expensive, and I just zoned out because that
Okay.
you ask about any watch, he's like it's expensive, and then it's like okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
it's expensive, then it's a
Yeah,
shitter.
exactly.
So let for we are here elite horology. So should we even explain what a lateral or horizontal clutch is?
I think you should.
Or
I think you should, but we should say hi to Goldfinger. He did say hi to us. So hello,
yeah,
Goldfinger. Thanks for checking out the show.
hello. So okay, so What is a chronograph? A chronograph, one second, let me, okay. Here we have a chronograph. It's basically a three-hander watch, hours, minutes, and seconds. Running seconds is here. So the movement is running tick-tock, 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 just like you know. Now you have that chronograph portion of that movement, and at some point you must engage it with that normal three-hander movement and disengage. And for that you need a clutch that engages or disconnects this chronograph part from the normal movement. Is that correct?
That is spot on.
Okay, so let's have a look at the movement. Here, this wheel you can see spinning on your chronograph when it's wound. That is the wheel that is basically connected to the second hand. So this is spinning all the time. It spins then this little wheel that is spinning all the time, but it doesn't have a connection to that center wheel, which is connected then to the minute counter and to the second counter. So what happens if you push the start button? Then this little thingy spins, gives that finger free, and this entire thing here with those two wheels swivels, and so that those teeth are touching those teeth at the second hand, and that is when the chronograph is engaged. Here we are talking about a horizontal clutch or a lateral clutch, and that is how chronographs have been built usually.
Can you highlight the clutch for the folks, just so they know what it looks like?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's hard. So at this point, the two tooth engage or disconnect. So those connect here or disconnect. Can you see that on the screen?
Yep.
So those two wheels are fixed on a bridge. It has a pivot here, and it moves to the left when it's engaged. It moves slightly to the right when it's disengaged. So this entire thing is very difficult to produce. You must have high accuracy, high precision, and also the force that is pushed on that center wheel can be adjusted by a watchmaker. So it's a very delicate, difficult thing. So with more modern watch movements, watchmakers started to use a traditional clutch. The problem is then everything is stacked and you can't see those three wheels independently. They are stacked on top of each other, basically.
That's right.
And that little wheel here is obsolete. So they're stacking those two wheels on top of each other, and then they push them together or they move them apart. So that is then a vertical clutch. So it's visually not that pleasing, because you basically can't see that entire chronograph sub bridge engaging and not. Was that understandable?
I think that was very concise. I think that's from an aesthetic perspective, for people to understand the horizontal and the vertical clutch. I think you did a really good job on that, because, and just to point out here, Russ, this was exactly what I was thinking when he pulled up the picture. I see you picked a split second or a retropon.
Yeah, I wanted to come on. Yeah, I knew exactly that I would be caught by cheating, but I wanted to show the people a beautiful Patek chronograph movement and not the standard one. So yes, Russ, you're right. I made it a little bit more complicated, a little bit more beautiful than a traditional one. Okay, I got caught in the honeypot. I apologize for that little dirty trick. Actually, I was thinking, what do I do? And I thought, I'm just going for it and get burned when I'm getting caught. So that is what happened. Okay, so contrary to the horizontal clutch, I wanted to show you a Patek Philippe movement with a vertical clutch, and there is not much to be seen. Is that correct?
I'm trying. Oh, you have it up in German. I mean, yeah, like, and it's also the fact that they have a big rotor on this.
Yeah,
Not lovely, not lovely.
yeah. But that has a vertical clutch. Is that correct?
Well,
Or am I wrong?
I don't see a horizontal clutch on this.
Yeah, I can see here
You can see the column wheel, yeah.
the column wheel, yes, but I can't see the clutch. But most of it is covered by the
Yeah,
rotor.
yeah.
But trust me, if it would be a horizontal clutch, it wouldn't be covered because it looks beautiful. So
Well, you know what's also interesting is typically Paddock caps their column wheels. In the last photo you
yeah,
showed, you could see the column wheel had a cap on it, and that cap
yeah,
is black polished traditionally. That's interesting on that piece. That if it's a vertical clutch column wheel movement, that column wheel doesn't have a cap like they do on these ones. Like in this movement, this is the 5370, or even in the 5172 or the 5170, you could see that their column wheel is capped in those. So I think if you're looking at the other piece, and I don't know if that's the world time. I think that might be the world time chronograph that you were showing. Can you flip back to the other one? I think it's the world.
yes,
I think it's the world time chronograph because it's the automatic. Yeah, like if you can see what they're doing in this movement versus the other movement, um, it's a less. So realistically, the difference in even in these pieces themselves would be, even the type of movement, the like you can see a quality difference
oh,
between
totally.
a high end paddock, and a movement that is not a bad movement, right? I think this is an annual calendar chronograph, um, but it's meant more for functionality, less for. It's not like they're cramping it all in for some beauty, but not what it could optimally be. And in looking at even the column wheel, like I said, not capped, it seems like they just compromised a bit on that, and for a reason.
Yeah, totally. And now Russ is of course on a run because he points out that the other movement has two column wheels, which is correct. Now let's have a look where the second one is. That is part of another clutch. Where's the second one? Help me out. I think is it here?
Picture
I think
small.
I think it's here. Yes, I think it's beneath that thing because
Mhm.
it engages and disengages that clutch here for the split second. So it should be here underneath.
Yeah, America. So he's showing the split second on this one, and then the next picture was the annual calendar chronograph,
Yeah.
and showing the difference in
It
terms
was
of like the column
it
wheel.
was a dirty trick. I admit
No,
it.
but
And
look, it's
yeah,
interesting because
yeah,
like you can show it here. If you can just highlight the cap column wheel for everybody, you'll see here this is black polished, whereas in the next picture on the vertical clutch column wheel movement, annual calendar chronograph, it's not capped. So
you
yeah.
also have those beautiful exterior angles here that are all hand polished. You can't get that on those normal chronographs. So this is I think it's also does a double assembled as far as I know. I think Russ told me those are those high complications are double assembled from split second chronograph
I believe they are.
up. They
Yeah,
are double assembling them.
yeah, I believe they are.
Okay, so we now we got that out of our way. So the main reason why people are still doing horizontal clutch is because it's beautiful. It's much more attractive visually than the other clutch. It is also a tradition, so not everybody is able to invest in that in that high technology, and yeah, so yeah, different approaches. I would say the horizontal lateral clutch is more expensive
Hey,
to produce.
it's the guy who does all those unsanctioned broadcasts in the chat.
Those unsanctioned sanctions,
Yeah, the guy who does that segment on your show,
the
the
segment. No,
narrative.
no, that
Yeah,
is locks. That
well,
is locks.
he's in the
That
chat.
is
He's saying howdy. He's saying
yeah,
hello.
yeah. Oh, Russ is confirming that I've been correct for once, so I'm
Yeah,
happy about that.
that's good.
So we have the watch colony here. I think that is America, isn't it?
That is America. Yep.
Okay, okay. So we have the watch colony here. Good to see you. We have Jax here in the house.
What's up, Jax?
I'm trying to ignore Russell, to be honest, because Russell is always correcting me. So Timmy Boytono, okay. Timmy Boytono,
It's
haven't
expensive.
seen you here. Welcome to the show.
It's expensive.
Good. So we had. Should we do the clickbait title, or do you want to have the spicy discussion about 30-meter water
Well,
resistance?
we got 20 people watching. I'm sure they want to talk about Wolex. Can you just say Wolex?
Rolex?
Yeah, say Wolex for the fans, please.
No,
No. All
no.
right.
This is
All
a
right.
serious watch channel. I'm not
Serious watch
doing
then.
that
Okay,
shit.
okay,
No,
okay,
no,
okay.
no. I did it once.
The narrative says it's 2 a.m. wherever they are, and they've stayed up to be sure they didn't miss the show. Shout out
Okay,
to the narrative.
so yeah, I was browsing a little bit today with Monaco Legends auction, keeping in mind that Holmberg told us about that scam. I think it's a scam with a unicorn, which we're gonna cover. So disclaimer, I would say be careful with vintage watches, particularly with unicorns or extremely rare watches, because owners and auction houses have a tendency to
Well,
not tell the entire story.
Higgins,
With that,
here's the kicker, though, right? Like, this is associated to somebody who's very well known in the watch industry. A collector who's very, very well known. So
yeah.
even then, you still got to beware. Even then, so that's why that story I think is so fascinating. Is
Mm.
is whose watch that actually is, right? Who's the owner is, right? So
Look, I've been listening, or I've been watching Archie for over 10 years probably, and he keeps on saying vintage Rolex is he keeps his hands off because it's dangerous and it's manipulated and so on and so on. And those stories prove his point. However, this is a watch that I found really remarkable because of its beauty. People know that I hate diamond dials. Here is a diamond dial, which is, in my opinion, absolutely beautiful because of the baguettes. And this is a platinum date just. And people are saying only 3 of them have been made. And probably that is the only one that has the dealer logo here, Serpico e Laino. I hope I pronounce it correctly. Do you know that better?
no, my Spanish is not that good.
Okay, so that is a seller, I think in Indonesia, as far as I know.
Is it Indonesia or Venezuela?
Venezuela, yeah, Venezuela,
Mhm.
because Spanish, yeah.
Yeah.
So he was a premium dealer, very very famous, and many Rolexes have that logo that come from South America, and they're always getting
I heard even
making
Mr.
things.
Zoso has one of these. I was looking at one of these stamped dials, and somebody had mentioned that Mr. Zoso has one. So I don't know. Maybe I'll try to get a hold of him after this show to
Mhm.
see. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is fascinating to me is this is a platinum date just. So certainly someone paid big bucks to get such a watch. And my question is, why didn't he get a day date instead? I mean, we're talking now about South America, where you're trying to show a little bit your wealth. And certainly you would get a lot of more kudos if you showed up with a platinum day date instead of a platinum date just. So I'm asking myself, why is somebody buying a platinum date just and not a platinum day date?
Rarity. Be different.
Probably the visuals.
Well, the question is that how prevalent were these models, right? Like, is it something you had to special order? Was it part of the catalog? You know, I don't know too much about this piece
I can
specifically.
tell you when I was selling Rolex, we never had precious metal date just
Datejusts, yeah. Like, I mean, I'm
in.
familiar. I'm familiar with gold, like Datejusts on
Yeah.
Jubilees. I'm not familiar with platinum Datejust. So I would assume that it could have been a special order, or the buyer was looking to be, a little different. I don't know.
I find it really remarkable that somebody opted for Datejust in platinum, and that is what caught my eye. And let's be honest, without that hole on top at 12, it gives a little bit more symmetry, and I think this is more attractive than a day date.
Crappy's asking, why is the number red? Now, many of the early iterations of the date just had the date wheel in red, but obviously some more modern pieces and neo vintage pieces did have it in red as well. But yeah, how old is this piece? Is this like a 50s piece? Is this a 60s piece?
I think it's 60s, 1955.
Yeah, that's why I was
Yeah.
thinking. That's why I said 50s, because that's probably Crappy in the early era of the date just. That's why the date wheel's in red.
Very early, some Rolexes had those red dates, and you could also replace it very easily. You could go to your AD and say, "Hey, I want a date disc in red," and they would do that. Famous are those roulette dates.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
this one's a roulette, as Russell's asking, but
yeah,
I could be
could
wrong.
be. No, it is.
It is
It
a roulette.
is.
There you go. Yeah,
Russ is spot on. So 9 is black and 10 is red.
sweet.
Okay, we have a
That's
roulette
really cool,
one.
man. Platinum.
Yeah,
See on the back PT 950.
yep. And also S&L signed here.
Ooh.
We don't know if that is done afterwards or if it's really signed by, like that. But let's assume I'm not a specialist, but that caught my eye. I think that engraving looks a little bit off, to be honest.
I mean, it's a strange one to add after the fact. You know,
Mm,
like it's a 50s piece. I mean, unless it's in more modern times where someone's trying to, and like you said, you got to be really wary of auction houses and, people trying to make pieces a bit more desirable than they actually are. That's possible, but I don't really see a motive if someone did it, after the fact, after they bought it. It doesn't really make any sense.
What I also observe is that those stamps here are more polished off than that one, which appears to me to be a little bit newer. So
Yeah, yeah, it's
I
possible.
question that a little bit, but probably experts can chime in and tell us more. But that is probably a telltale. What I really like about this watch is, and Hodinky no, I think the seller is mentioning that. So that is a period accurate platinum
Buckle.
pin buckle,
Yeah.
and it seems that Rolex, this is the only platinum pin buckle that is known. Usually they come with platinum bracelets, and not with leather strap.
Hmm.
So apparently this is super rare that you see those pin buckles in 950.
Do you know if this piece originally came on the strap of the pin buckle? Did it also have a bracelet? Is there any other accessories with this
The
in the auction?
story is that it came on a leather strap, and the
Hmm.
evidence for that is that pin buckle, because they said they say there is no other known platinum pin buckle.
That's interesting, right? That also probably gives us a bit of a clue on the buyer, right? Because again, they just were probably produced on bracelets at that period, early 50s or mid 50s, so the buyer may have seen that, hey, I don't want just a run of the mill date just. Maybe they wanted something a bit different with the leather strap, with the platinum buckle in platinum. That's where, because you asked the question at the start, why would that person buy this and not a date aid? And it's just seemingly more and more that that's probably an individual who wanted to be distinctive with the
Yeah,
piece that they were buying.
I mean, great taste,
Oh,
without a
absolutely.
doubt. I mean,
Impeccable taste.
that watch has not dated
It-
anywhere, in my
I-
opinion.
to be totally honest with you, without some of the telltale signs of like the date wheel and whatnot, like this could have passed for a more modern steel
Mm,
date just,
yeah,
something from the 80s or something like that, where they do the roulette wheels, the 90s, sorry, where they do the roulette wheels and stuff. It's possible, right? But, you know, that's when I looked at the crown, and I looked at a bit of the case shape, I was like, this looks like it's an early example, either 50s or 60s. Um, but yeah, that's super crisp, man.
looks
I got,
fantastic.
yeah,
That is a picture of that seller, and
very
here
nice.
you it's still having the original case box, which is also neat and very nice to see.
Do you have the auction estimate on this?
500,000 to 1 million. So
Wow.
don't get too excited, guys.
Gary's asking if we know anything about who these were made for, but I'm not sure if there's any information on the buyer or if there's any
No.
information around. Because sometimes these are, they could be one-offs, they could be
Hmm.
special orders pieces, off-catalog pieces. Like we covered off-catalog pieces yesterday on Archie's show. Saad had sent me some of the photos of off-catalog pieces. It could be one of these. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Could be. I don't know if they had off catalog pieces or if the dealer is just approaching the national representative, and then it's worked its way up. So
JB's asking. You said this is in 1955, so the date must have came after 55. I'm assuming. So that's probably also why they didn't get a date if that's the case.
okay, that is a good point. When did the date when can you check when
Yeah, I
the
can check it out.
date has been
Yep.
introduced? That is a good point, actually.
1956.
Okay.
Next year. Yeah.
Then it makes sense why that is a data. Just very good point. Thank you very much.
I wonder if this buyer was kind of kicking themselves for not buying a day date the next
Probably-
year, right? Like
probably
Basel World happens, a day date comes out, and they're like, geez, I didn't buy the day date.
So it says 1955.
Granted, you know what's interesting? A platinum day date that person probably would have bought may have been worth a heck of a lot less than what this is. So maybe I would say maybe the right choice.
Yeah, but then I saw something that even caught my eye more, and I know that I owe you and anybody here on the channel a story about the history of the GMT Master. Have a look at that.
66542 Bakelite bezel.
The best watch that Rolex ever did.
And these are radium dials, right?
Oh yeah. And no crown guard. People know that I'm guilty of shaving off crown guards of Submariners just because I love the look, the visuals of those non-crown guard cases.
Can you please tell us the nickname of this watch?
No.
Like, do you not know it, or can you not say it?
Of course I know, but I'm not doing profanities here.
Okay. It's not
You can do it.
It's
You
from.
can fill it
You want me to say it? It's from
Of
the James
course.
Bond movie. This watch was famous. It famously shown in the James Bond movie. What was it? A Goldfinger, right? It was in
Yes.
Goldfinger, and Bond wakes up in the plane. Piloted by the famous Pussy Galore.
Yeah. So the nickname is Pussy Galore on that one.
I must be dreaming.
I must be dreaming very well. Played by the beautiful Honor Blackman. So this is the first GMT Master. It has the famous. How do you pronounce that in English? Bakelite or Bakelite?
Bakelite.
Bakelite. Okay, so with the Bakelite bezel. Bakelite is a special kind of plastic, very brittle, and impossible to replace. Now, Rolex in the US had a recall at some point. So no, I have to say, okay, so radium dial here. So those lume plots are all radioactive. Those numerals in that bezel insert are also radioactive. And at some point, Rolex US had a recall of all the GMT Masters with those radioactive bezels and dials, and they replaced the bezel insert then with an aluminum, which was not luminous and which then was not radioactive. That is why those Bakelite bezel inserts are super rare, and that is why in other countries than the US, you can find them a little bit easier than in the US. But most of them have been extinguished.
So the recall was centered only in the US, is what you're saying?
Yes, that was only in the US.
Okay.
And I have the document up. 1 second. I prepared well. I prepared so well that I can't find the page. 1 second.
Yeah, JB, I would agree, especially because of the radium, right? Like you can see that radium's flaking off.
Yep. So here it is. That is the ad that they placed in different newspapers American Rolex Watch Corporation, and we repeat, all other Rolex watches, Oyster Perpetual, waterproof or not, are absolutely free of any substance in violation of the AEC regulations. You can be certain that all future GMT Master will be so. So here a statement of fact about Rolex
What
watches.
year was this? What year was this?
That is a good question.
Like it must be in the because it's interesting because like it's just I guess it's stating that the issue was probably the radium on the bezel, right? Not the lume plots and everything else because because if you think about it, the Submariners had radium dials as well from
Yes,
this period, and as it's saying in the ad, all other Rolexes are not privy to this problem. So it's it being on the bezel, which is not inside a case, that it could have an actual concern
but
for
that's exactly the problem, because
health.
inside of the what happens inside of the case stays inside of the case.
And that's always kind of I've asked that question to like health professionals, like, hey, some health professionals are like, do not go near it. Some are like, yeah, it's fine, right? So I know that there's even that concern with some people buying these radium dial, vintage Submariners and vintage Rolexes.
Yeah. What I like here is the text where they are trying to play down the problem a little bit. Um, this model is a special purposed wrist chronometers used mostly by navigators and pilots for telling time accurately in two time zones simultaneously. So they play it a little bit down and say, "Yeah, we made that one special instrument that
Mm.
has a little bit of a problem." So that is how they approach the tool watch thing um, back then. So the document is from 1959, December
Yeah,
1959.
so like Dodgers is saying, inside the case or not, radon gas will be generated in an enclosed space. So yeah, that's always been my concern about these radium dials and radium pieces. But yeah, it is
No,
cool though if you think about it. Like the bezel actually would glow in the dark. That's actually a really cool piece.
super cool. Yes, I'm coming back. Yeah, but Dodger is hitting a good point. Nobody cared about those watchmakers, those poor watchmakers that had to service those watches. That was not the point. They were more scared that the bezel would spill the environment, and I find that a little bit ironical. And generations of watchmakers have been subject to those radium flakes
Hmm.
when they had to service those watches. Now, that is the OG of the GMT Masters, in my opinion, the most beautiful Rolex ever existed. Have a look at that small little triangle at the 24-hour hand. Absolutely beautiful. But then it gets even better. I have not seen that a GMT Master has a depth rating. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't. That's actually really cool.
So 50 meter, 165 feet. Never seen that. GMT Master in red, super rare. I think I've seen one or two before, but that is also super rare. So the combination of that depth rating and that red lettering must be super rare, and I'm pretty sure will drive a lot of collectors absolutely insane.
Yeah, and look, for me, and I know a lot of folks that are watch YouTube, I guess, in the modern day don't, they just don't like vintage or they're shying away from vintage because they were told, vintage is a bit of a minefield. But what Jonathan is describing here is actually what makes vintage super interesting is Rolex at this period of time and through the 60s and even through the 70s, dial variations were very common. So you can find all different types of, dial variations that, make that type of collecting very, very cool, and the hunting is actually really, really cool because it's all these little nuances, these little details that really make the difference, like red text or, even like you said, a depth rating. Well, even if you look at the depth rating, it's a meters first. That indicates the period of time, when this watch was made, as opposed to when they went feet first, right? It's maybe European focus moving towards maybe an American or a British focus. Who knows, right? Like,
The watch has been sold to a diplomat in Cuba.
oh, even like cool story, right? Like,
Yes,
I
so
just think that,
so yeah.
yeah, I just think that vintage Rolex really has a lot of, a really an interesting path for collectors that are willing to maybe have a look at something else besides modern.
Yeah. So the watch has been owned by a Cuban diplomat, probably a buddy of Fidel Castro, who also had a GMT Master, 6542, and so yeah, this it's also fully documented. They even have the cash receipt for that watch. One
Oh, very
second.
nice.
So here's the cash receipt, some pictures of the guy.
Was it
So
purchased like in a dealer in Cuba? Like, did they have a dealer in Cuba, or was it
so
purchased outside of Cuba?
I think it was purchased directly from Rolex in Cuba. So
Okay,
the receipt says Compañía de Relojes Rolex de Cuba,
very cool.
Habana, Cuba. So and the name of the guy is there on. So apparently he got it directly from Rolex and not from an AD, if Cuba has any ADs.
Well, and obviously the connection with Cubans that wore Rolexes, obviously with Fidel Castro, being very very famous for wearing Rolexes. I don't know if like Rolex still has presence in Cuba, or if after kind of the revolution that it was a thing of the past. Maybe I'm not sure, but still really cool to see this piece of history that it was purchased locally in Cuba and not in Geneva or something.
Okay, so Holmberg did some research about the guy. So this guy was prime minister of Cuba, and then he fled the country when Fidel took over. So he
Mhm.
was probably not a friend of him.
And that's kind of what I'm talking about, right? You hear you hear about the era pre-Fidel, and post-Fidel, right? So it could even be an interesting piece of time, or history of time where Rolex was in Cuba at a different time in that country's stability, and then maybe have exited Cuba. I don't know if they have or haven't, but if they have, that would actually point to a pretty interesting period for me.
So yeah, JBJB brought the story of the Radium Girls
Hmm.
up. So that was a time when all Swiss watchmakers, Swiss makers, had radium on the dials. I think the Radium Girls were working in an American factory, as far as I remember. So, but matter of fact is, they took the radium powder, which was a powder, and before picking that up, they licked the little how do you say what is the name of the tool that they licked?
The brush, wasn't it?
Brush. Yes,
Hmm.
exactly. Yeah.
Hmm.
So they licked the brush, and apparently then got contaminated. And many of those girls, usually that was a job for women, they died of tongue cancer.
Yeah, it's very
Sad
sad.
story.
Very, very sad story.
Yeah.
And look again, that I always think of that story too when I think of radium dials and whatnot. But yeah,
Yeah.
really sad.
Gangster is asking about the accuracy of those watches, and as it says, officially certified chronometer, I would say it's in between COSC uh,
-4
standards.
plus
Yeah,
6. -4 plus 6.
because because that has never changed as far as I know.
Yeah, I haven't heard that either.
Yeah. So yeah, super interesting watch. I mean, totally beautiful. I question a little bit that Bakelite is really that well preserved. What
Well,
really annoyed?
even look at the case. Like, go back and look. You can see the beveling on the case.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. I
is this
wanted to
the?
go there.
I was like,
I'm
this is looking a little sharp. Like,
I'm super annoyed that somebody apparently recut those bevels.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
like, this is looking like pretty sharp, like a modern Rolex. Like, what's going on
yeah.
here?
That pisses me off a little bit and just shows um, how bad it is to, to make those watches perfect anymore. I would rather have an honest watch. But hey, we're talking about a super rare watch. Nobody gives a shit if that's recut or not, probably.
Well, it's
People
also
will go
like,
crazy.
the over time, again, people weren't collecting watches back then, right? It was, it was jewelry, it was functional. People wanted it to look nice, right? So, I can definitely understand somebody saying, well, this, the case is getting worn down and dinged up. Like, why don't we refinish
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
But look at the beauty of that case without the crown guards. Uh, to me, it's clear which is more attractive. And just imagine Rolex doing a reissue of that.
Well, you didn't answer this question from Loose Tooth.
Oh, How much exposure to radium did Jonathan have to ground the crown guards off that Kermit? Not really much. I was a good boy, and I was always trying to avoid radiation whenever it was possible. I mean, I was flying planes, and I know that the radium or the radioactive exposure is very high up in the sky. But I was doing it and fully aware, and I was playing with that idea for years, and I have no regrets. I mean, just look at the beauty of that case.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And I agree with the sentiment of no crown guards. I think it looks better without crown guards.
Yeah. So, do we also share the opinion about what happened with Patek last week?
Let's get into it.
I haven't prepared anything.
Well, I mean, I did a whole segment about
Yeah.
about
So
what
tell us
happened.
what happened.
Well,
And
here's the thing. So I didn't actually, I obviously don't read the press kit, and I didn't really know this was going on until I saw something on the Rolex forums, talking about Patek changing the water resistance, or what they call unifying the water resistance to 30 meters, essentially saying all watches, or most watches, not all watches, some watches are not water resistant, and that's specifically the minute repeaters, but that they're trying to unify most of their watches to have a 30-meter water resistance. So I was obviously confused on why they were doing that or what unifying meant, because overnight, essentially, the sports range like the Nautilus and the Aquanaut went from 120-meter water resistance in 2023 to 30-meter water resistance in 2024. So, in my mind, it was just super confusing and strange, because, kind of like, why now? Like, what's the reason behind this? What's driving this? Like, the rest of the market's not really doing this. So I just, it was a super confusing situation for me.
remember 1 year ago when they presented that Aquanaut Loche in gold with that moon phase?
Yes, and that one did have a lower water resistance. I remember that.
And everybody said, I'm not
Mhm.
buying that watch just because it's
Mhm.
only
Mhm.
30-meter water resistance. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
so Patek should have learned from that, because I'm pretty sure they got that feedback as well from their clients.
Well, like, this is the thing about feedback, because this isn't new. Like what they're doing right now has been done by another brand not too long ago with Panerai. I mean, Panerai, the Luminor, they created the Luminor Due, which was a 30-meter water resistant Luminor, which doesn't make any sense, because I mean, the Luminor is a dive watch, right? Like, a 30-meter, water resistance on a dive watch is kind of stupid. So, um, yeah, like, it's just weird that they would do this.
Particularly when you've been supplying the
Well, and think
Italian
about,
Navy.
but
So,
Higgins, like, there was backlash from the Panerai Due. Like,
yeah.
the Due wasn't a popular model because there was backlash around the water resistance. So, I mean, Patek has probably seen that already. So, like, for them to do this, to me, and I'll speculate here, given the situation with Panerai and what happened with the Due in that piece, I think Paddock obviously knew that this was going to have a bit of confusion and stuff like that. But I think this was probably they have to do this, because I think it's to I think it's really to protect themselves from warranty issues on the sports models in the future. Less so than trying to say that a sports model is the same as a dress model. That's one theory I have. The other theory I have is that it was done on purpose by Paddock to basically take away what they perceive as, or what they think the consumer perceives as, an advantage of the sports models over the dress pieces, in that, well, 120 meters water resistance on a Nautilus or an Aquanaut means the watch is more robust, I would say, more usable in a daily manner, versus what 30 meters, what most people take 30 meters for is, just be careful when you wash your hands. So, I think that they wanted to take that advantage away so that it could sway consumers to also maybe consider more dress watches. Those are my two theories on why they did it, but it's still very, very confusing.
I can tell you from first-hand experience, when you're selling watches, it is very difficult to explain the client the difference between 30 meters, 50 meters, 100 and 300. So you always try to explain then what really the client can do with those watches. So I understand the approach that Patek said, okay, we're getting rid of those confusing informations and tell our clients what exactly they can do with the watch, which means you can swim, you can jump in the water, and you can dive until 30 meters, and you have a warranty. However, I think this unified communication is not to Patek's advantage, because now the 30 meters are out and the competitors are offering way more or way better in many cases. And I have the feeling that it's more a cost-saving measure, just like they got rid of the Geneva seal and now have the Patek seal. And now we're going back from 120 meter for Aquanaut and Nautilus to 30 meters. Probably it's saving them some frankly in the production.
To be totally honest with you, I think that there's just something stinks here in this
Mhm.
story, and I'll tell you why. They're saying in their press kit, essentially any watch that they have that's water resistant to 30 meters. So we're talking about Aquanaut and Nautilus, obviously, but also, perpetual calendars and other water resistant pieces, to 30 meters, like dress pieces that have push in crowns, not screw down crowns, push in crowns, can dive to 30 meters. I don't know. I think that stinks. I don't think that that's realistic. I think that they're probably thinking, well, nobody's going to go take their perpetual calendar on a dive, and test it out. And my belief is that 30 meter water resistance is the industry's understanding of 30 meters. Paddock is trying to say, no, 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 no. Our 30 meters means a true 30 meters. I think I don't believe that. And I think it's more the industry standard. And that leans me more towards the idea that they did it to prevent warranty issues in their sports models down the line.
But I think your point is weak. So if they're really trying to reduce the warranty issues, um, I will take the opposite position. They are saying now loud and clear, you can take your leather strap Calatrava and dive for 30 meters. So what happens if the client then later complains that his alligator strap has been ruined by the water, and he demands a new one because he says, you said you can dive with that water down to 30 meters. You didn't say that I should take another strap.
No, I think I'll disagree with you on this because they, if you think about it, diving to 30 meters, because I don't think the strap is really the issue here. Why I say that they're doing it to prevent warranty claims is when a customer visually sees 30 meters, we are currently conditioned to think that's very little water resistance. Like, be careful when you wash your hands. That's how most people perceive 30 meters. So, a new paddock buyer that goes and buys a Nautilus, they're going to see 30 meters, probably understand that that's 30 meters like everybody else means 30 meters, and be a little bit more careful. That's why I think they're doing it, to prevent that Nautilus guy to go, I'm not saying they're going to go diving, but using it in the pool more frequently to the point where there could be warranty issues. That's why I think that they're doing it for
Mm,
warranty.
I think that's a stretch, but yeah, I'm not sure if the clients are really that educated. From my experience, usually the questions go, okay, I'm not diving that deep, and you tell them, well, rated to 30 meters or 100 meters means that the watch is resisting a certain pressure, and then I always add it, and this is my honest advice to anyone who wants to use their watch in water. It all falls, or it all boils down. Does the watch have a lockdown crown or not? I would never use a watch without a lockdown crown in water. That doesn't make sense.
Did you want me to get this question from Gary, or did you want to handle it?
Yeah, please.
So Gary's asking, did Paddock increase the warranty to 5 years, or is that just speculation? No, they did increase the warranty for new models up to 5 years. Now, what I have heard, I think Russ told us, was I believe his AD told him that Paddock will grandfather in all watches purchased after May 1st, 2023. So the 5-year warranty will be for watches of 2024 onwards, but grandfathered in from May 1st, 2023 to current present model, I guess.
So Louis Stewart is very critical and said Patek appears to have consulted a Spin Master, double speak merchant, or what is
on water resistance communication.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, I again, Lucis, I agree. Like I'm super confused by this. Like I don't know what's real and what's not. And so from my perspective, for people, just be careful with your watches.
Yeah. Aqua Not is whole time means Aqua Not. Okay.
Maybe. Yeah.
Very interesting discussion, I would say. So we are here 55 minutes. I think we are wrapping this show up before Jamie Opulence hops on, which we try to avoid by all means. By the way, the link is pinned, or the link has been posted. So Tons Thrillstorf, what are the famous last words here for Friday night?
Rolex. Come on, can you give the crowd a Rolex? You haven't done it yet.
No. I have to.
Higgins is no fun even on a Friday night, guys.
Yeah, my PR department said I shouldn't do that.
All right.
So clickbait is okay, but I'm not screaming and yelling tonight.
Well, I'm surprised we didn't talk about Rolex. I didn't expect that today, so that was pretty fun.
Well, I would say those two are smashing pieces. I'm glad that JB gave us the hint about why this is in platinum and that Datejust. I still believe that is absolutely beautiful, and that is why I said I'm in love.
We've got Zeppy in the chat. Thanks, Zeppy. Appreciate it.
Zeppy. Okay, so let's wrap this up. Guys, have a good weekend. See you on the next show. If you liked, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, tell your friends, and enjoy your watches.
See you later.
Bye-bye.